Hello. Hey everyone. Hey Facebook. Hey Instagram. Taking a deep breath as we wind down the day. I had some West Coasters who were requesting that I do a Q&A. Hi. Thanks for joining. That I do a Q&A session a little bit later in the evening here in Eastern Time so that y'all on the Pacific Coast can join and you're out of work and all of that. So as you guys are getting settled, hi, thanks for coming on. As you guys are getting settled, I just want to welcome you here and remind you of the rules. So basically how this works is this is not live psychic readings. This is any questions that you have about the psychic world, about the energy world, about the world of metaphysics, any questions that you have, feel free to ask them at this point in time. You can, if you're on Facebook, you can pop it into the write a comment box. Same thing on Instagram. If you're watching live, you can just type a little comment. I will not be checking my email at this point for anonymous questions, but if you do have an anonymous question that comes up that you're like, I don't really feel comfortable with friends or family seeing this, I'd rather ask you privately. You're more than welcome to email that to me at doorwaytoself@gmail.com, and I will save it for next month's Q&A, live Q&A session. So that's how this works. And as soon as you ask your question, I will do my best to get to it as soon as I'm done answering the question prior. So I did have a couple of anonymous questions come in. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Leah Gerson and my company is Doorway to Self. I combine counseling techniques with psychic tools to help you find what I call your inner gold. This Q&A section is applicable to anyone and everyone. If you're human, you're psychic, and you are dealing with energetic things all day, every day. Everybody does, whether on a conscious level or a subconscious level. So I did have a couple of anonymous questions. I'm going to take my glasses off for y'all so that you don't get the glare. I did have a couple of, someone really liked that. I did get a couple of anonymous questions sent to my email. So I'm going to dive into those first, but please feel free to start typing your questions as I'm answering these. And then I'll get to you guys as we come in. So the first question I really love because it's the last day of February today, and February, as you all know, hopefully, is Black History Month. And so I love this question because it's so ridiculous, and yet it's really pertinent, unfortunately, to where we are at in society right now. And the question is, I am a Black female, and I'm wondering, does it make you uncomfortable to see Black people doing spiritual things? No. And actually, it's completely the opposite. I get super excited when I see people of color, be it Black people, Latino, Asian, anybody, any person of color, I see in something spiritual, whether it's my workshop or here on the live events or out when I'm going to do learning thingies and I'm in a classroom or a workshop space that's full of a diverse range of people, I get really, 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 really excited. Because what that means is that people of color are standing in their power. And they're saying, screw the system, screw the fact that we were not aligned to be here societally, right? Society says, spiritualism is for white people, essentially because white people are the ones who are supposedly supposed to afford it. Because people of color have been screwed over by the system. Not all people of color, most people of color. And so it's just really wonderful to walk into a room or be with a client or whatever who's a person of color, because it means that things are changing, and that is just lights me up. So please, if you are a person of color, yes, come, go do the spiritual things, because you're human and we're all human, which does not diminish your experiences. But actually that's exactly the point, is your experiences are needed to help inform spirituality in general. So that spiritualism isn't completely just catered to white people. And what I'm actually seeing more often, even specifically, is white women. And I talk about that a lot too. So that's the answer to that. And happy Black History Month, because that's worth celebrating. Thank you so much to the anonymous human who asked this question. I appreciate you. Let me see if any live questions have come in just yet. Does not look like it on Instagram. Hi, Jackie. Hi, Linda. Thanks for coming on. Hi, Jenny. Cool. All right, so I'll move on to the next anonymous question then. And like I said, if you guys have something that pops into your brain, please put it into the question box and I will get to it after I answer the question before it. Okay, so the next question is, how does sound healing work? So I'm going to give you the real scientific response to this, which I'm really excited exists because it verifies that this is actually a thing that works. So as humans, we are made of energy, right? How does energy work? How are we made up as human beings? This physical body thing that we dwell in exists because it is made up of physical molecules. Molecules are energy. They're a physical little thing that vibrates and buzzes. And in order for molecules to work, they have to, and form something, they have to be able to vibrate. What is vibration? Vibration is sound frequency. And so basically every single little tiny one of our molecules, and therefore our cells, and therefore our entire beings, are vibrating consistently. That's how we work. That's how we're here. That's how we're alive. So we're vibrating consistently. And what is vibration? Vibration is sound. Well, when you introduce one sound to another sound, it changes it, right? So if you're somebody who plays an instrument, right, and you play a C note, and then you play a G note, the G note informs the C note, right? It's no longer just one pitch. It's no longer just one like, it's now like two sounds going on at the same time, which creates a completely different third sound in and of itself. So that's how sound healing works, is when we introduce another sound into our sphere at whatever pitch or several pitches it may be at, it enhances our vibration. It changes our vibration so that so that the way that our molecules are buzzing and vibrating, the pitch that that's making, even though it's not consciously audible to us, right? That pitch changes. Did I get a question? No, Instagram just decided to freak out. Okay, that was bizarre. So yeah, thanks for that anonymous question to the person who asked it. Cool, I'm seeing more people joining on here. Hello to my California folk who are hopping on. I appreciate you, your request for this later time. It's pretty cool. Hi, Jake. Thanks for coming on. And to all the Michigan folk who are staying up late, and all of the UK folk who are staying up really late, because it's like 1 o'clock in the morning for you guys. Cool. So I'll just repeat again quick for those of you who joined. If you have a question, pop it into the comment box, and I will get to it as soon as I'm done answering the question prior. Hi, Terry. Thanks for coming on. Okay. Jake says, just wondering what's up with my future. So Jake, hi. Obviously you missed the intro to this. So this is actually a Q&A about how psychic things work, and not necessarily how, like, it's not readings. I'm not doing live readings here. However, what I will say, what's up with your future? I love that question. That's awesome. the reason I say it's awesome is because it's really vague. So it can go a ton of different ways. If you were to ask that to any psychic, they could say anything, even if they weren't completely tapped in with their abilities, right? And again, if you're human, you're psychic. So you could walk up to Joe Schmo on the street and say, what's up with my future? And he could be like, you're gonna go walk down Main Street one day. And that would probably be true because there's a Main Street everywhere. So I think that's actually, this segues into a cool little point here of open readings. Open room readings are a really interesting thing, like gallery readings, if any of you guys have been to any of those. Because it basically is a way for psychic people, well, people who have honed their psychic ability. I shouldn't say psychic people because everybody's psychic. People who have honed their psychic abilities to walk into a room and pick the one person who they can read really, really, really strongly. And it also gives an opportunity for people who haven't honed their abilities but really want to harness the power of that and pretend that they have done that. They can just walk into a room and make really all-encompassing statements that would be true for most people. It's kind of like the astrology readings that you get in newspapers, right? I was talking to somebody about this earlier, where you open up the astrology section in the newspaper and you read like 3 different things and they could all potentially apply to you, and you're like, is this really a sign-based thing? No, it's not. It's the newspaper making guesses. There's a lot more poignant astrology that can actually work. Let's see, Jake says, oh, okay. Thanks for understanding, Jake. I really appreciate that. So yeah, but if you want to tap into your own future, that is something that you can learn how to do. And basically, you're going to want to find a place to meditate, where you won't be disturbed, phone off, total silence, get into your space, get into your zone. And you're going to want to tap into you. Most people are a little wonky when it comes to what does my own energy feel like. Hi, Kelly. Thanks for saying hi. I appreciate you. So anywho, when you figure out what does your energy feel like, you'll be able to tap into that and zone into that. And you'll be able to ask, just simply ask, what does my future look like? And you'll probably get an answer, and the answer might be for tomorrow, because tomorrow counts as the future. It could be for 10 years from now. It could be extremely vague and you don't know when it's going to happen. And it might happen tomorrow. It might happen 10 years from now. Yeah, that's pretty much probably the easiest tool. Though tapping into the future, unless you are very inherently a precognitive worker, it's going to take some time and some work. It's not like, oh, this is easy and fun. And for those of you who don't know, precognition means you have the ability inherently to tap into the future psychically, whether that's through clairvoyance, which is sight, clairaudience, hearing, whatever, any of the clairs. The point is you can tap into the future. If you want to learn more about that, I did just post an article on my blog, doorwaytoself.com/blog, called What is Clairvoyance? And you'll be able to, there are some examples of post-cognition, cognition, and precognition, which are seeing things before they happen, seeing things while they're happening, and seeing things after they happen. So that would be a good resource as well. Okay, let's see. Oh, yay, Kelly, thanks for asking a question. Do you have any techniques or recommendations for connecting to a loved one who has passed on? Cool. So this is a little bit more of an in-depth question. The first thing I can say is energy that leaves the body is then just energy. I mean, the body is energy as well, but it's non-physical energy. So energy can be connected anywhere, any which way. If you are specifically just trying to connect with someone who has passed on in terms of being able to talk to them or tell them something or give them something or let them know that you love them and care about them and are thinking about them, that's literally all you have to do. I mean, literally, it's so simplistic. You just have to think about them and say, I love you, I miss you. And they'll know. And if they don't feel it and get that right then and there, they will eventually. As soon as they're able to connect with that and tap into that and all of that. Whether or not you'll know that they've received it, that's a completely different story. If they're like right there and received it right then and there, you might get a sign or a symbol. Like if there's somebody who really liked a certain number and you're driving behind that license plate number when you send that message, or if there's somebody who really likes lemons and you all of a sudden get the taste of lemons in your mouth, or if there's somebody who really likes ferrets, and there's a commercial on TV with a ferret in it that pops up right after you send that message. So sometimes messages will come through just to kind of affirm us and say, oh, okay, yep, they heard me. So that would be the most simple way to connect. If you're talking about actual legitimate mediumship, that is an iffy subject. Firstly, I'm going to caution you and say just be really, really careful if you are practicing mediumship to make sure that you are connecting with somebody. And just so you know, the definition of mediumship means connecting with someone or something that is not on our 3D physical plane. So somebody who has crossed into the astral realm, or who's on 5D or 14D or whatever it is, those D is dimension. That's what mediumship is. It's connecting with someone or something who is not here physically. So what I want to caution you with is just make sure that the person you're connecting with is actually the person you're wanting to connect with. There are lots of beings and entities who are lower vibrational who will disguise themselves just to be able to have human connection, or to try and manipulate you, or to try and form energetic cords with your field. I'm not saying any of this to scare you. It's just simply the truth. It's just something to be aware of and cautious of. And so what you can do in that case is just ask them. When you connect with them, if you end up connecting with them, ask them and say, let's say you're trying to connect with your Grandma Trisha, right? You would say, if she appears to you, you would say, are you my Grandma Trisha? And if she says yes, then likely she's your Grandma Trisha. Otherwise, they kind of have a thing about kind of randomly just unveiling themselves at crazy moments, where it's not actually your Grandma Trisha, and then you're like, okay, see ya, bye-bye, and you run the hell out of there. So that's the second thing I'll say about that. The next thing I'll say is that there is an ethical component to this. I think I may have touched on this in a video before, but I'll say it again. So imagine you are on the beach, it's a gorgeous sunny day, and you're in your bathing suit, and you ran to the ocean, you came out, you're sopping wet, and you paid like thousands of dollars to be able to get to this remote beach, and it's gorgeous, and you're having the time of your life, and you've been waiting to get here, like waiting so long to get to this beach. And you finally get to this beach, and you're taking a dip in the ocean, you're like, yes! And all of a sudden, your phone rings, and it's your best friend, and your best friend's like, you have to come home right now, you gotta come home. And so, sopping wet in your bathing suit, you call a cab or an Uber, whatever it is nowadays, and the Uber shows up, and you jump in the Uber, and the Uber takes you to the airport. You pay thousands of dollars to get them onto the next plane. You take the next plane home, and you run to her house, and you open up the door, and you're like, what's going on? What do you need me for? And she's like, oh, I just wanted to say hi and see how you're doing. Yeah. That's what we're doing when we call spirits back. Um, if they're not already like here. Like there are some spirits who will just kind of hang out here on this earthen plane, just because they haven't moved on yet, or they're waiting to connect with you, or they've come back specifically to connect with you at this point in time. Those kinds of things. But if they are already like far off in other dimensions, that's what we're doing. We are calling them back from this beach that they've been waiting their whole life to get to, and making it super, super, super inconvenient for them to come all the way back just for us to tell them, oh, hey, how's it going? I want to check in on you, make sure things are cool on the other side, right? So just make sure that if you are calling somebody back, just make sure that it's with big purpose and really good intention. Like if your house burned down, you would want your best friend to call you on that beach, and you would want to get your butt back to your burnt down house to see if you can salvage anything from it. That would be worth calling somebody back for, something like that, right? Like for instance, somebody's trying to smear your familial line. That would be worth calling your great grandma Ruth back for, to make sure that if you needed her advice or her protection, or just her to make sure that the situation was okay, something like that. Or if you're really worried about your child, or really worried about someone close to you who you just, or even yourself, and you just need that extra protection, then that would be probably a worthy cause. But really it's up to you, and just making sure that, ask yourself that question: is this something that I would want my best friend to call me back from the beach for, right? The beach that's thousands of miles and thousands of dollars away. Is this something I would want to run in the door and be like, oh, thank you so much for calling me back here. I really needed to be here for this. And use that as your gauge. The last thing I'm going to say, never, ever, 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 under any circumstance, use a Ouija board. Those things are bad news every single time. I can't even tell you how many houses I've had to clear because of Ouija board use. Do not do it. That's all. Thanks for that question, Kelly. That was a good one. You always have really good questions. I appreciate your participation here. Terry says, you have said that everyone is psychic. Can people learn to, quote, see spirits, or is that an ability that only some people have? Yep. So there's this weird thing that happens where, for some reason, people associate being psychic with sight. So that's not necessarily something that's true. There are many people who have the psychic gift of sight, otherwise known as clairvoyant, but not everybody does. So everybody is psychic, but not everybody has every single ability. And what's more is that abilities are fluid. So you could have clairvoyance today and then wake up tomorrow and it's gone. You could not have clairvoyance today and wake up in 10 years and all of a sudden have it. It's psychic ability is fluid, and it comes into our lives when we're ready for it, or when we need it to show us something or teach us a lesson of some sort or prepare us for something. So psychic ability is fluid, and it comes in and out of our lives consistently, in terms of what form it takes. And there, of course, there is a way to shut everything off completely, but still on a subconscious level, you are experiencing energy. The experience of energy is the definition of being psychic. Being psychic is the ability to experience energy, whether that is through seeing things that are energetic, or hearing things, smelling things, tasting things, touching things that are energetic, or whatever. So your question was, can people learn to see spirits? So yeah, you can. I mean, there are clairvoyant exercises that you can use to train yourself to see spirits. I mean, really just training your third eye in general, training yourself for psychic sight is going to open you up to other possibilities in that department. So, doing things like guided visualizations on, you can even, I mean, I kind of caution against this slightly, but if you go on YouTube and you look up guided visualization or guided meditation, just make sure you know a little bit about the video before you play it, so that it's not somebody trying to like subconsciously say things that are harmful. Yeah. You go to one of those videos, or you go to like a meditation app or something like that. Anything like that is going to spark your vision. We've all, well, maybe not all of us, but it's a common thing of like you breathe, you get into your body, and then you're walking down a path, and XYZ happens. I do have a couple of guided meditations up on YouTube. I used to put one out every new moon. So those are all available. I think there are probably about 8 of them on there. So those are all available. If you just search Doorway to Self on YouTube, those guided meditations are all there, and you can use them to your heart's content. Listen as many times as you'd like. Anywho, so that would be one technique. Another technique would just be imagination. And I know that sounds really simple, but even if you could just where you're sitting right now, just closing your eyes and trying to imagine the color blue, right? You can see the color blue probably pretty well. And then maybe taking it a step further, right? Trying to imagine a pine cone. That's a little bit more complicated because it's an object that's pretty detailed. So you're tuning into that. But if you see the pine cone, you're on the right track. And then maybe even you could try doing a whole landscape, right? Like imagining the beach, or imagining New York City, or imagining, wow, those were polar opposites. But that's a good thing to try yourself with polar opposites, and just try and see if you can envision those things. So that would be another one. And then there are several that are a lot more like kind of fun and magical and cool that I do one-on-one with people in my office as well. So if trying to train yourself to see spirits is something that you're interested in, that would definitely be something that I would love to be able to help you with. And you can find all of my offerings online at doorwaytoself.com/services. So yeah, some psychic training might be a good thing. Hi, Shar. Thanks for coming on. Let's see, anything else? Okay. Jake says, okay, thanks, namaste. You're so welcome if you're still here. I don't know how to tell on Facebook. I'm like, is anybody even here? I don't know. So anywho, cool. So I am out of live questions at the moment, so I'm going to revert back to this list of anonymous questions. Do you believe in animal totems? So we are in a world of being culturally PC. I feel it's my job as an educator to just educate on being politically correct here. Technically, totems are a Native American thing, so we're not going to appropriate that. But if you look at the world of, the olden days in Europe and such, you might have something called a familiar, which doesn't necessarily, I mean, people think of like, the witch with her cat, and that's her cat familiar. And they think of like, it has to be an actual live physical animal. It does not. And you don't have to be a witch in order to have a familiar. It's just a, it's just something that you connect with. You can have familiars, you can have guides, animal guides, animal protectors, animal spirit friends. I like that one. Because it really is. I mean, it really is a connection. And I've spoken to this before, I think with crystals maybe, but we live in this world right now where it's all about taking, and it's all about, oh, how cool would it be to have my own animal spirit guide? Like, oh my God, you know? And the whole idea of it is just this idea that this animal is here for you, or this stone is here for you, or this tree is here for you. And that's just not the case, right? It's like a relationship. If you are in a romantic relationship, your partner is not just there for you, you are there for your partner. If you are in a friendship, your friend is not just there for you, you are there for them as well. And when we begin to cultivate relationships with these things, that's when the major magic happens. Like major magic. Just like insane psychic experiences. I can tell you guys real quick, just because there aren't any other questions yet. Oh, I see Terry has one, but I'll just tell this real quick. So this is one of my favorite stories. So I still work with crows quite a bit, but I used to work with crows all the time in college. They were like, when I saw a crow, I knew something was about to go down. And actually in high school as well. And actually I'll back up to there. So when the crows would come to me in high school, I was like, oh, you're here for me, right? And it was that feeling of you're here for me. And I kept chasing them and chasing them and chasing them. And sometimes things would happen and sometimes they wouldn't, but it wasn't ever incredibly consistent. And when I got to college, the crows really started to call to me. And they started really asking things of me. Like they would come to me in my dreams and say, come meet us in, this is going to sound so cliche, you guys, sorry. Come meet us in the cemetery. Which is actually, I mean, seriously, Forest Hill Cemetery is like a big, beautiful park. It's not even like there are tombstones there or anything. It's just this gorgeous, gorgeous place with these massive trees that are just genuinely beautiful. Anywho, so all of the crows would flock there, and then I would get there and I'd be like, okay, I came for you. What's up? I came for you, right? And that's the thing, is this idea of reciprocation, even if we don't know what's coming, right? Even if we don't know what to expect, it's just this idea of trust and reciprocation. And one day I was in a poetry class, my sophomore year of college, with the amazing Ken Michalowski. And one of his assignments for us throughout the semester was that we had to write in a journal every single day. We had to write an entry, and we had to write 2 to 5 poems every single week from those entries. And so every day I would go to Forest Hill Cemetery and I would walk around, and they have these little benches in there, right? Like I said, this is just not a normal cemetery. They had like benches that you could just sit and chill on because it's such a beautiful place. And so every single day I would pick a different bench and I would sit on it and I would write. And one day the crows just kept calling to me and calling to me and calling to me. And I'm like, you guys, what do you want? Shut up. I'm trying to find a place to write here. And I was like, okay, fine. You know what? Just guide me to a bench. That's all I ask. Just guide me to a bench. And so sure enough, a couple of them take off in the air and they're all in a line and they're all flying, flying, flying. And they stop at this tree and it's by a bench. And I'm like, you guys sure that's the right bench? And they start cawing and cawing and cawing and cawing, and they get up in a line and they fly in the next place and they land in another bench. And I'm like, are you sure that's the right bench? They start cawing and cawing and cawing, and they fly off in a V, and not in a V, in a line. And they get to the next tree and they land. And off to the left is this bench on a hill. And I'm like, that's it. It's the bench. And I go up, sit down on the bench, and they're just cawing and cawing and cawing and cawing, like just so loud. And I finally looked up and I said, what do you want? And I turned around, and right behind me was a tombstone that had the words written on it, not the bird, but the shadow of the bird flying. I kid you not. This is like not fiction, guys. Like this actually happened. So I'm freaking out and I'm like, okay, this is just weird. I'm going to go with it. And all of a sudden I hear the words right here in clairaudience. I hear the words, pick up your pen. Like, okay, all right. Pick up my pen, click it, open up my journal, and I just start writing. And it's not even me moving through my hand. I'm just writing and writing and writing. I have zero idea what is coming through onto this paper. I finally finish up, and I'm like, whew, okay. And the crow's completely quiet. Completely quiet. I'm like, what the hell is going on? And so I go back and I read through all of this, and it's all about, it's saying, know that I still love you. And that when when you go into your office and your coffee cup is moved a couple of inches to the left, it's because I'm the one who did it and I'm just messing with you. And it's my way of showing you that I'm here and that I care and all of this stuff. And it's just like pages of like, all of like, I never meant to leave you. And, my art was meant for you and I miss your poetry and all of this stuff. And I'm like, what the hell is it? Who is writing through me? And so I get up from the bench and I'm like, I gotta see whose grave this is. And I turn around and I go to this tombstone, not the shadow of the bird, but the shadow of the bird flying. And I walk around to the other side, and sure enough, it is my poetry professor's wife. There are 85,000 people buried in this cemetery. 85,000. The chances that the crows would just have like willy-nilly, by coincidence, lead me to her tombstone, I don't think that's a coincidence. And I ended up bringing in the entry to my poetry professor and being like, this crazy thing happened. I was told to deliver this message to you, and so I'm delivering it. And I delivered it, and sure enough, I went back to the cemetery the next day. I went back to Anne is her name. I went back to Anne's grave, and I was like, okay, I delivered your message. And immediately, again, the crow's just cawing. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. And I hear the words, I am always in the wind. I will protect you. This is the relationship that we can have when we reciprocate, whether that's with spirits of people, spirits of animals. And by the way, I asked Ken about the crow thing, and he did say that he always associated Anne with crows, and he was like tearing up and just like, it was really an amazing moment. We do have connection with life in general. And when we can remember that as life, we are part of a network of other life, that's when we can tap in real big time. And we can make connections with other things or animal or people or ourselves that are profound and that will really help to show us, to pave the way for the rest of our lives. I know if I need something, if I need anything, if I'm lost, if I go outside and I am lost, I follow the crows and they take me to wherever I need to be. I know that and I trust that. And it's because I gave to them, right? It's not, I didn't just expect, I didn't just say, oh, you're here for me and I'm the only person you're going to serve. And I mean, like, oh my gosh, how many people, and if you're one of these people, I really beg of you to go within and ask if this is your truth. How many people are insistent that the wolf is their spirit guide. Like, it's always the wolf every single time. I really implore you to look within and ask if that's your truth. It may not be the wolf. It may be a mouse. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with that, because there is no animal that is too small or too big or too insignificant or too boring to be a guide for you or to be a friend to you or to have a relationship with. Yeah, and I also don't think we only have one. I don't think we can only have one main animal relationship guide thing. I think that they all kind of show up in different ways, shapes, and forms whenever we need them at certain points in our lives. Okay, we have quite a few things. Thanks for listening, guys. I'm glad you enjoyed that story. Okay. Terry says, cool. Thanks for the info about the guided meditations and practicing visualization. Do you do any workshops or trainings that include clairvoyant exercises or training on your third eye, or is that all in one-on-one work? So that's a great question. And I've been trying to think up how to do a workshop for something like this. I genuinely think that because each and every individual is so inherently different, this is definitely best saved for one-on-one work. I've found there are exercises I use with certain clients that do not work, and with others, they're like, let's do that again. I just saw everything I've always wanted to see since I was 4 years old, and there were gushing rainbows from my eyebrows. Okay, so it really just, it's such an individualized thing. And also, if somebody doesn't have clairvoyance at this point in their lives and they show up to the workshop, I don't want them to be feeling left out or disappointed or frustrated or anything like that as well. So that's a good question, though. Thank you for that. Hi, Allie. Hi, Nicole. Hi, Danielle. Fred says the blood of Jesus Christ saves sinners. We do all have our own beliefs, yes. Danielle says, hello tonight. Hello. Nicole says, I used to find the cemetery by my childhood home amazingly soothing. I'd go there and just hang out. Many older graves, and I was just comfortable and felt good energy there as a child. Couldn't explain it. Just was my favorite spot as a kid, LOL. Yeah, totally. So there are definitely some cemeteries that, who knows, maybe some really distant ancestors of yours are buried there, and they're just there being like, come hang out with us, we'll chill with you. Yeah, oh my gosh, my energy just came out. Whoa. Wow, sometimes like I'm talking about DNA and that comes through and it's just like, okie dokie, that's 54% of me. All right. So I just got beat red, y'all. So anywho, yeah, so sometimes that's the case, and other times there are just guides there that just want us there, that are just like, hey, come hang out with me. And that's reciprocation too, right? Come hang out by where I'm resting and I'll watch over you. That is blatant reciprocation right there. Yeah, so that's what I have to say about that. Nicole says, not a coincidence at all. I love it. Yeah, definitely. Timothy is giving us a Bible verse here, 2:5. For there is one God and one mediator between God and men, the man Jesus, Christ Jesus. Yeah. So thank you for sharing that, Fred. And this is just a space where I love that you shared that, because I believe that everybody's beliefs are important to be acknowledged and recognized. And it's important to make sure that we all have space held for us in that way as well. Hey, Mike, how's it going? Okay, let's see. Alrighty. We don't have any more live questions at the moment. We do have about 15 minutes left. So if you guys have questions, get them in the comment box, because we all know how long I like to answer things. So it might be a while before your question's answered. So if you want to answer it in this session, get it in the comment box. Otherwise, I will be able to answer next Q&A next month, which actually... oh shoot, what is the date for that? I meant to tell you guys and I completely forgot to look it up before. I'm gonna do it real quick here. Actually, no, I'm not, because it's gonna take me too long. Because I'm using all of these cameras. Anywho, if you want to know when the next Psychic Q&A is live on Facebook and Instagram, you can sign up for my email list, because it will be going out in the next email for the month of March, which will be going out on Monday. So if you do want to know when that is, just go to doorwaytoself.com. A little box will pop up on the side, and you can just type your email in there, and you'll get I do every single Monday. I send out an email with a weekly psychic update is what I call it. So it's just kind of delving into the energy of the week and what we can expect for that week, whether it's astrologically, numerologically, or just energetically in total. So that happens. And then I also put any upcoming events for that week in there at the beginning of the month. I do all of the events for the month as well. I try to put events 3 months out in advance too on those emails. So if keeping up to speed with all of these things is something that you're interested in doing, I would definitely recommend doing that. I also include the links to all new articles, all new videos. The YouTube replay video of this is going to be in the next email as well, with all of the timestamps on it as well. So in the description section, it's going to have, whenever somebody asked a question, it will have that minute of when I asked the question and then the answer to follow. So if you just hopped on now and you're late into the game and you're like, shoot, what did I miss before? I wonder if it was really good stuff. You can just hop onto that YouTube replay, which will be going up in the next couple of days, and you can look down the list to see what questions were asked and answered and when. And this handy thing is happening on YouTube now, where you can just click the time and it takes you directly there in the video, which is really cool. So you don't have to scroll through. Convenience. And please don't forget to subscribe to the channel as well, because that would be cool. I would really, really appreciate that. And if you don't already like the Doorway to Self Facebook page or follow the Doorway to Self Instagram at Doorway to Self, I would be super, super grateful if you would give a like and a follow and a share maybe to your friends who you think would enjoy or get something really deep out of this educational experience. So let's see, has anybody else asked questions? No questions. Okay. Cool. Awesome. So the next question is, how does astrology affect energy, both in your personal chart and in daily life? So this is actually a question I get quite a bit. And it's interesting because a lot of the articles that I put out are astrology articles, and so people think I am an astrologist. I don't consider myself to be an astrologist. I have knowledge of astrology. I'm not an astrologist. I have nowhere near the amount of education in astrology to be an astrologist. There's just like way too much. Like, it's a super complicated subject. So for those of you who just read, the newspaper, or what's like those little online things that you can sign up for, and they give you like a daily horoscope to your inbox or whatever, like that's not real astrology. It's just not, plain and simple. It's crap that people make up to make you feel better about yourself because you have some sort of semblance of control over your day. That control comes from within. It does not come from what you read on a computer screen. So there's that. astrology is much more in depth, and I look at it from a perspective called existential astrology. And what that means is it focuses on you as an individual, not as like, I'm a Leo or I'm a Scorpio. Like, it is genuinely looking at you as a whole, not as a sign, because we have several signs that inform who we are. We have where our sun was placed in the sky when we were born, where our moon was placed, where all of the planets were placed when we were born. And then where in the night sky every single one of those things shows up, in addition to asteroids and all sorts of other things. So we have birth charts, and if you go to cafeastrology.com and you know your time and date and place of birth, you can actually type those things in and get a full chart done up for you for free, which is awesome. It is my favorite resource ever. I'm not hired by them. I'm not doing a plug for them. This is like legit. I just tell all of my clients this because it's where I go to get your chart when I do one-on-one interpretations, and I also do astrology tutoring as well. So if you're interested in like learning astrology and specifically learning your chart and what your chart looks like and how it works, then that would also be a great option for you. And again, doorwaytoself.com/services is where you're going to find that. It's under the tools, I believe. Anywho, oh, people joined on Instagram. Hi, friends. Anywho, so yes, so to the question, how does it affect energy in your personal chart and in your daily life? So from a daily life perspective, the planets and the sun and moon and asteroids are consistently moving, right? Because energy can neither be created nor destroyed. Planets can't just be stopped in motion. They're consistently moving. And because they're consistently moving, it means that the energy is consistently shifting. So every single day, there are different aspects that are going on. And not only do we have to take into account those aspects, but we also have to take into account how those aspects affect us personally based on the chart that we were born with and where all of those planets and sun and moon and asteroids were when we were born. So that's how it affects us on a daily level. If you're interested in what's going on in the night skies right now, there's a ton of really significant shifting happening. And I just put out an article. It's the very recent article on doorwaytoself.com/blog. So if you want to read about what's going on currently, that's something you could check out. And it also does touch on the 333 numerology that's happening this Sunday, which is just spectacular and awesome. And I'm really excited for it because it's going to be fun. Anywho, so yeah, that's how it affects us on a daily level. And on a human level, on a universal level. As far as how it affects us from our personal chart, it just depends on where your planets are placed and where what we call the houses are placed. Each house informs a different part of your personality. And there are 12 of them. Each planet and the moon and the sun and the asteroids all inform a different part of how you operate. And so just looking at that will definitely inform how you operate energetically. And I love to encourage people to look at the elements in their chart as well, right? Because there are 12 zodiac signs that are split into the 4 elements. So there are 3 earth signs, 3 air signs, 3 water signs, 3 fire signs. And depending on how many of each element you have in your chart, you might operate a little bit differently. And I have found that people who have a lot of clairsentience, which is the feeling of energy between yourself and others, tend to have a lot of water in their chart. I've found that, or a lot of air as well. I've found that too. or a ton of earth, because it's like more grounded and physical. I've found that people who have more clear empathy, which is the ability to pick up on other people's emotions and take them on as your own, tend to have more water or fire in their chart. I have found that people who have more clairvoyance, psychic sight, tend to have more fire in their chart. Clairaudience, psychic hearing, tend to have more air in their chart. So there is definitely a correlation between psychic ability and the elements that are in your chart and where all of those are positioned. So let's see. Nicole Ross says Doorway to Self YouTube channel. Yes, it does exist. It does exist. Unfortunately, it's not youtube.com/Doorway to Self because I don't have enough subscribers yet. So if I can get 100 subscribers to my YouTube channel, then I will have my very own URL. So please subscribe to it if you would like to, because that'll get us one step closer to making things much easier for you to find. If you want the direct link, I'll post the replay. I'll post the YouTube replay video into the replay of this video on the Doorway to Self Facebook page. So you Instagram people who are watching, if you're looking for the YouTube link, it's going to be on Facebook on the Doorway to Self page in a couple of days as soon as I'm done putting all the timestamps in and uploading it and all that good jazz. So yeah, but yeah, Doorway to Self YouTube page. All of the previous psychic Q&As are on there from every month with all of the timestamps of questions and answers. There are several guided meditations on there as well. There are a couple random videos of like me doing talks with people or me just talking about subjects that a lot of clients were coming in with, stuff like that. So yeah, that's all a thing. Let's see. Yeah, so I think that's about all. Hi, Lisa. I think that is about all for today. We are wrapping up the hour. And like I said, if you are wanting to delve more into psychic education in general, or if you're just like, what is this Doorway to Self thing? I'm curious. Again, Facebook, Doorway to Self, Instagram, @Doorway to Self, YouTube, type in the search bar, Doorway to Self. You can, if you really want to get specific with it, if Doorway to Self videos aren't coming up on there, you can put Doorway to Self Psychic Education or Doorway to Self Leah Gerson. It should pop, videos should start popping up and the channel should pop up. I'm sorry, that's hard for you guys to find. And also, if you want just all of that in a very neat, concise place, plus the blog, plus any upcoming events, plus the weekly psychic update for the upcoming week of what energy is happening, you can sign up for my email list, which you can do by going to doorwaytoself.com. And if you have any questions whatsoever that you want me to answer next time anonymously so that you don't have to put it in the comment box, or something just pops in after this session, you're like, oh crap, I should have asked that, just email doorwaytoself@gmail.com. And you can find out all sorts of different ways to work with me personally, one-on-one as well, at doorwaytoself.com. My blog is on there too. So I know I just fed you guys a ton of information. I hope that you've enjoyed it. And if you did enjoy it, reviews are always appreciated. So if you want to leave a Facebook review and be like, oh, session was really cool and I got to learn all sorts of things, or whatever you want to say, that would be awesome. Let's see. Hi, Angie. She says, love the plants. I don't know. Oh, behind me. Yes, these are my babies. And she says, I just looked for Doorway to Self and popped up easy in YouTube. Awesome. Thank you for that feedback. I'm really glad to hear that. Thank you so much for letting me know. All right, you guys. All right, I'm going to go ahead and end this now. But again, just super, super, super thrilled to have y'all here. And I hope to see you for next month's Q&A. I'll be putting the event up on Facebook here in the next probably week or so. So see you then.